my superstars, it's the Star Warrior horse here. Today, I'm casting judgment on the BreyerFest 2025 models, that is, ranking them via a tier list I created on tiermaker.com. Let's just say this year's lineup is pretty interesting. Like everyone, I have opinions about these models, and what better way to express that opinion in a fun format like this? For the record, these are my personal opinions, and if you have different views of these models, I welcome them. This is purely for fun. So what am I waiting for? It's time to rank some models. First up, we've got tight lines or fish. So here's the thing about tight lines. I'm cool with the mold. I think the color goes very well with the mold. That said, I feel like Breyer has gotten kind of skimpy with their flea-bitten grays as of late. It's like Breyer was going for minimalist shading. Minimalism is okay in certain contexts, but the thing is, if you go too minimalistic on a gray, they look rather flat. Most flea-bitten grays have a lot more detail than this, especially in real life. But then again, the silver lining to him having such light shading is the fact that he may be less prone to having factory flaws. And I tend to collect to show, so that's right up my alley. And because he is a BreyerFest celebration horse, he's going to stay in my collection. All things considered, I'm going to rank him at B. Next up, we've got the Break Out the Bubbles event stablemates. It has been a very long time since I've been this impressed with event stablemates. I was naturally biased against last year's event stablemates because they were all decorators, but let's be honest too, they lacked character. Even fans of decorators were very disappointed. These, however, are amazing. If I didn't know any better, I would have swore that these were Stablemates Club stablemates, not BreyerFest event stablemates. Breyer pulled out all the stops with these fellows. Just look at Bellini. Breyer's go-to strategy for painting leopard Appaloosas is to do like this splatter paint kind of design. Not with Bellini. They gave her realistic spots. I adore her. And those little ribbons on her tail are icing on the cake. Plus, she has striped hooves. Wonderful job, Breyer. I like Mimosa quite a bit too. I'm fond of the Indian pony mold, and her color is delightful. Of course, I'm a stinker for glossy bays, and what do we got here? A glossy bay. The color also complements his mold quite a bit. And Prosecco is just on a whole other level. The gloss just makes that black coat pop. I really like his snowflake / blanket, and of course the striped hooves. Rightfully so, I'm putting them in S tier. For those of you who don't know what S tier is, it's like a grade above A. Think special. Think surpassing. I believe it's used in Japan. It might also be used in other countries, but don't quote me on that. Next on, we move to our limited edition models. Here we have Bellissima Sapphire. I like the mold quite a bit, and her color complements her beautifully. Some people will look at this model and think, oh, well, she looks rather plain. But consider this, she has much better shading than tight lines. She's simply amazing. She gets an A from me. Next, we've got Halcyonia Nightlife. Please forgive me if I'm butchering these names. So I will say that he was a pretty interesting concept. He's not a flat black model. He actually has super soft dapples in his coat. It's also kind of hard to see here, but one of his eyes is half brown, half blue. That is not easy to pull off. That said, I'm not too crazy about this mold. His head looks a little big in proportion to his body. That said, I haven't seen a model on his mold in person yet. Sometimes my opinions of molds change when I view them in person as opposed to just seeing them online. I just don't see myself paying $75 for this model. That could change if I see him in person at BreyerFest, assuming I even go in person this year. He's neat and all, but I'm not sure if I'm sold on him. But he's much better than some of the other models on this list. I'm gonna rank him at B. Here we have bow and arrow. Okay, hear me out. I really dig this color. I'm okay with the mold, but do I think this color complements this mold? Not even close. Breed assignment would be rather difficult for a model like this. I guess you could show him as a North American spotted draft. Even so, I'm not going to spend $80 on a model that I'm just not that fond of. All you Cleveland-based stands are going to hate me for this. Next up, we've got this thing right here. D for disaster. I know people say it's wrong to make fun of appearances, but just look at that. I like his color better than the last two Freedom Series BreyerFest models, but his mold is just... I kid you not, that was not made up. That was a real cough. That was 100% legit. It's just coincidence, but at the same time it proves my point. It makes me sick that the real portrait horse wasn't done any justice. Here we have the Best of BreyerFest Series 6 set. I for one love to collect the Best of BreyerFest Stablemates collection sets. These two in particular are my favorites. The other three seem to lack the wow factor I tend to find in the other Best of BreyerFest stablemates. I've seen nicer red roans and his blanket looks a little strange. Star dapples are nice, but you've got to know how to execute them properly. The dapples are rather large for a stablemate. I like the lacy markings on this one. I just think her gray color looks a little strange. At the same time, she could be a Gruya going gray. Overall, though, they are nice. I'm gonna rank them at A. Here we have the SpongeBob reference horse. Sounds like a lot of hoopla! I like the mold and the color is fairly nice, but I don't think they complement each other very well. Just so you know, I like pinto patterns, but I like them on certain molds better than others. Breed assignment is rather tricky for a Tobiano sport horse. Plus, I've seen bay pintos before, but I almost get the impression that his coat color seems rather, I don't know, cheap? I'll be the first to admit that my opinion might change if I were to see some in-hand photos of him. I'm also willing to say that between bow and arrow and him, I'd choose him any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I'm gonna rank him at B. Here we have Shindig. Some of you are gonna hate me for this, but I'm not super crazy about this mold. And his color choice just looks rather odd for him. Breyer says that he's a shaded gray Sabino, but he almost looks like a Gruyo. And for a Sabino, his markings look rather splotchy and unrealistic in my opinion. Sorry boy, you only get a C. Here we have Standing Ovation. So I've seen less attractive crystal models in the past, but it's gonna take a lot more than just this to do it for me. And for 50 bucks, I don't think so. It only makes sense that Breyer would use this mold for a crystal horse sooner rather than later. After all, the American Saddlebred Stallion mold is rather iconic, but he isn't nearly as attractive as his plastic counterpart. Bro gets a C. Here we have Party Pal! This floofy little pony is so cute. His party outfit is delightful. Some plushies have certain features about them that just says celebration. The same can be said for Party Pal. He's gonna be among those plushies that people look back on and say, yes, this was Breyer's golden year. This was their special anniversary as a company, and they commemorated that for BreyerFest. I look at him and think, that's how we celebrate BreyerFest 2025. He may play second fiddle to the model horses, but I like him nonetheless. He gets an A from me. Next we have Let's Get This Party Started. I look at this model and I just see another black and white pinto. I like the fact that she has lacy markings and all, but she just isn't doing it for me. She isn't too bad, so I'm gonna put her at B. Here we have Let the Good Times Roll. Now, I've usually said in the past that gloss does nothing for leopard Appaloosas, but his face is nearly solid, he has large spots, and his base color looks beautiful in gloss. If anything, the gloss makes his base color pop in a way that a matte finish probably wouldn't. I also happen to like the mold. He is wild, in a good way. Flippin' A. Here we have Good Times and Great Friends. Breyer has managed to capture my weaknesses in a single special run set. Of course, I've said it only a million times. I love Mustangs. You mean I get 2 Mustangs? The more the merrier. I am also subconsciously drawn to rearing molds for whatever reason. So when you throw a little rearing Mustang full in the mix, what do you think that's going to do to me? And I love glossy bays. She's a deep mahogany bay, and that gloss just brings out the rich red undertones in her coat. And I, for one, love Marin Full sets. I don't think Breyer has ever done a glossy Marin Full special run set. They've done plenty of mattes, but I cannot remember the last time they had a Marin Full special run set that was glossy. Breyer hit a home run, and this family is coming home with me one way or another. This is definitely an S tier set. Here we have To the Ties That Bind Us. I normally dislike decorators, but this is a different story. I'm really loving this new concept Breyer has been doing with their decorator models as of late. Plus, the silver mold is among my favorite molds. And even though he has an unrealistic color, he's not an ugly blue. Breyer took a vintage color, that being Wedgwood, and modernized it in such a way that it's smoother than ever before. And the little etchies on his rump are so out of the box. It has been quite some time since I've been this fond of a decorator. A++. Here we have YOLO. Now here's a model that I have mixed feelings about. His mold is not the most anatomically correct, but nonetheless, I like it. I really like the color on him too. That is, until I found out that he was a chalky. When it comes to chalkies, Breyer's execution of them is either a hit or a miss. And sadly, most of the time, it is a miss. They are very prone to factory flaws, at least in my experience. The chalkiness and the white markings make them appear almost unrealistically white. I like the gray color. Some people might complain that the dapples look ever so slightly fish scaly, but when it comes to a gray of this caliber, it's not going to really show up as being too fish scaly, if you know what I mean. $75 is a lot for a model that probably isn't going to be the best show prospect. Even so, I can't let that be the only factor that defines whether I want a model in my collection or not. I'm going to play it by ear, and I'm going to sleep on it. He's good but not great, so I'm going to rank him at B. I won't be ranking the Seize the Day surprise for obvious reasons. It wouldn't be fair to cast judgment on this model, especially when we don't know what the mold or colors are going to be yet. That's just me anyways. Here we have Hats Off to You. I'm not normally a fan of vintage molds, but this is a bit of an exception. The old timer mold, it has a lot of character. I mean, come on, a horse with a hat? How do you not find that entertaining? And he even comes with a party hat. I also like his coat color and pattern. He has just the right amount of detail. This isn't just a BreyerFest special run. He is a fun BreyerFest special run. His conformation may be rather wonky, but he is a crowd pleaser nonetheless. All things considered, I'm going to rank him at B. Here we have The Future is Bright. I'm so sad because I really wanted to like this special run. I love Morgan Kilborn sculpts, and I'm so grateful there's a long mane variation of this mold. Although I like Palominos, this was a poorly executed Palomino. Those dapples are so fish scaly and uniform.
I knew it. I knew those dapples reminded me of a breakfast cereal.
Gray colored models can get away with rather uniform or fish scaly dapples. The same cannot be said of lighter colored models. Those dapples just stick out on her like a sore thumb. For those reasons, I'm ranking her at C. And finally, we have Life's a Journey. This is a pretty cool collie. I like the fact that Breyer is beginning to do special runs of dogs again. The bandana is also a nice touch, but $65 is way too much money in my opinion. If we were talking a set of 3 or even 2 collies, that would be a bit different. All in all, she's pretty cute, so I'm going to rank her at B. So that marks my BreyerFest 2025 models rankings. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Starific content. Thank you for watching, my superstars. Always dream with your eyes open.